Welcome back to Letting Go Loudly, where we stop whispering our worth and start reclaiming it out loud. Today, we want to start with a question. What lie are you still believing? What negative self tapes are still running in your head? What are you ruminating over? Because here's the truth. Most of us aren't stuck because we lack motivation. We're stuck because we've normalized a story that was never meant to define us. I'm too much or I'm not enough. I always fail. I have to earn love. I can't trust myself. I have no self control. Does this sound familiar? Well, today we're not just identifying the lie, we're going to replace it. Leah and I are going to teach you how to create your own mantra. Not something fluffy, not something Pinterest perfect, but something personal, something powerful, something that interrupts that old narrative in real time. No more picking a quote you saw somebody else you admire post. Nope. In the next 30 minutes, we're going to teach you how to identify the lie or lies that are holding you back and how to write your own unique mantra to help you move forward. Because today we rewrite.
So grab a pen if you can. Welcome to Letting Go Loudly, the podcast you never knew you needed. We're your hosts, Leah Lanham and Heather Hetchler, two midlife women, two certified coaches, and two friends who finally got tired of living by rules we never agreed to. Around here, quiet compliance is officially canceled. We're letting go loudly, and we're taking you with us. Now back to the show.
Leah, you know what? I'm so excited about this episode. We talked about this. It's so important that we take our lives captive. And I think we all have them. You're going through the day and you want to start something, you're doing something, you want to change something, and those old lies or those old negative self-talks come into play and you just find yourself feeling stuck or you find yourself believing. I've heard from so many women recently too that started resolutions that are like, you know what, I don't have any self-control. It's not going to work. Or, you know what, I'm just not good enough to do this. And it's not true. But we've identified, there's a simple framework that you and I use when we've created the mantra that we have for our lives. And we're not going to share with you that just yet because we don't want you to compare. We don't want you to adopt what we're doing. We want you to create your own mantra that's going to work for you. But the first step is identifying the lie that you believe about yourself. And I think we all do. We all believe something that's false
Right.
about ourselves.
Right.
And at the heart of it, a mantra empowers and motivates. So you have to first know what drains you and make you give up before you can write that antidote, right? So we're going to give you a couple questions and I want you just to sit with these. And there's no right or wrong answer and there's no shame. What thought shows up for you when you're triggered? I know what that is for me. What do you tell yourself when something goes wrong? And what fear repeats before you take a risk? So, Leah, I'm not going to ask you to share answers, but do you have things that come to mind when I ask those questions?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And most of them are negative.
Absolutely.
Which is unfortunate, but yes, most of them are negative. They're like, oh, I can't do this, or, but yes, most of them are negative. So definitely it's good to sit with these questions for a little while and kind of see what you come up with.
Yes, because I think what happens for us is we pick these mantras or it's all over social media. You've got to have a quote or you've got to have something, and we'll adopt something that like an influencer we like or a woman that we follow, but she may not have the same stories we have. She may not have the same lies. And so here are some examples if you're still kind of stuck as you're thinking about these, but I really want you to sit with those questions. I'm always behind, right? That's a lie because you can move forward. If I rest, I'm lazy. Our culture celebrates busy, but rest is actually one of the most productive things you can do. The lie that if I disappoint somebody, they're going to leave me. The lie that I can't trust myself to follow through. You need to get your trigger or fear in mind. You don't need to you don't need to say it out loud if you don't want, but you need to call to mind what trigger or fear comes to mind. And friend, this is the story that you've been carrying, right? So finish the sentence. The story I've been carrying is. This is that fear, that trigger, or that lie that has been holding you back. I want you to let this moment breathe. This is the letting go. This is what you are going to learn to let go.
Coming to step 2, we're going to find the opposite truth of that question, that identifying the lie. We're going to find the opposite of that, but we're going to make it grounded. So here's where people mess up. They swing from I'm a failure to I'm wildly successful and unstoppable. Okay. Do you see where we're going with this? Like, you can't go from one to the other just switching that quickly, because your nervous system rejects that. It actually gets confused. And instead of teaching you, um, instead, we're going to teach you this formula, because you'll be able to see what we're trying to get at here. There's limiting beliefs about yourself that cause this negative talk, this negative self-talk. Whether that's these are the truths you're trying to tell yourself, most of them aren't grounded in anything. They're not really grounded. You're not really thinking like, oh, I'm just unproductive, so I must be lazy. Do you really feel that way? Or is that something you may have been told in your past, that you're lazy? So we really want to stick with this system because it really does work. So here's the framework: lie, empowered truth, and then our anchored mantra. So, example, here's the lie I'm going to use: I can't trust myself. Okay. So, my empowered truth to that is I'm learning to trust myself, or I am trustworthy. The mantra is I trust myself more every day. Okay. So, do you see where we're starting with that lie? We're turning it into a truth. And then we're using that in our mantra to reinforce what we're talking about. We are reinforcing that, yes, we are trustworthy, and we're getting more and more trustworthy every day. So it's kind of like a work in progress. It's something that you're working toward. Here's another example: I'm too much. I'm just too much. Well, the truth is, you may be intense, and that's power. Okay. So I am intense, and that is my power. Okay. That is your empowered truth about that mantra, or about the lie about I'm too much. Okay. So maybe somebody has said that to you before. Oh, you're too much. So you have this in your head, and you're changing it by saying, I am intense, and that is power. So your mantra from both of those together is my depth is a gift. So that's something you can repeat to yourself, right? My depth is a gift. Let's go to another example. I'm behind. I'm behind. I'm always behind in my work. I'm always behind. Okay. So maybe you were told that. Maybe you were told by a boss that, wow, you have to catch up. You're behind in your work. We need to catch you up. Maybe you've been told that. But the truth, when we look at a truth on this one, is my path is unfolding at the right place. Okay. So maybe you're not up to somebody else's standards, but you are acknowledging that your path is unfolding at the right time that you need it to unfold. And so your mantra from that might be, I am right on time. Okay. You're telling yourself, I am right on time, because in your world, you are right on time. You are right where you're supposed to be. That's what we always know about ourselves. So I am right on time. And these are generic examples, okay? We're just using these to make this easier for you to understand. But you don't want to copy any of these, and you don't want to compare them. We will share our mantras in the end, but you want to start thinking about some of the things that might be limiting beliefs in your life, something that you repeat in your mind that is a lie when you get confronted with something that's difficult in your life. So you want to start looking at that, and we want you to create a phrase that will help you stop those negative tapes, and then you can start to propel yourself forward with your positive thinking and your new mantra.
Leah, that's so good, because what we think becomes reality a lot of times. Like, we can talk ourselves into or out of something.
Absolutely.
And so I love what you shared too about going from, like, you can't go from I'm a failure to, like, I'm going to be wildly successful. You can't go from two extremes, because it's kind of like, I think when people want to, like, the good example I think is when women want to lose weight and they start going to the gym 5 days a week, or they go on this really low carb diet, and then
Right.
in 2 weeks they burn out because it's too much change too quick.
Right.
And so I think that's such an important part that you talked about. That step 2 is finding the opposite truth and having it kind of move in a gradual pace. So you go from like identifying the lie to the truth to the mantra. That's really great. And it takes us to step 3, which is really sharing with you the 4-part formula. And so I know a lot of this is practical, but we really, really believe in helping you create a mantra for you that is going to help you break the lie that is holding you back. So the first one is make sure it's present tense. And that might sound simple, but it's so important that you have an I statement. I will, not, you will, you need to make it present tense. Secondly, it needs to be active. So identity based in a verb. So here's some examples like I am, I choose, I trust, I allow. You need that second word to be an action word, and it needs to fit the lie that you're breaking. So are you choosing to think differently? Are you choosing to do something differently? Do you need to trust yourself more? Or do you need to allow situations to unfold? Do you need to allow other people to speak into your life? Like, think about the word that is going to help you break that lie. And then the mantra needs to be short enough that you can repeat under stress. You can write out, and I do encourage you to actually take those questions earlier in the episode and do some journaling and write out. Like, if you're still listening and you're like, I still don't know what's holding me back, get that journal afterwards, write out, start to just let it dump out of you, and it will start to flow. Once you open those gates, it will start to come out. But you do need to shrink your mantra to a shorter sentence that you can repeat, that you can write, that you can post for yourself. And it really needs to be emotionally activating for you. Like, it actually should make you a little uncomfortable when you hear it, because it needs to be something different. You need to be moving in a different direction. So it's really important that it's emotionally activating. So to repeat, it needs to be present tense. It needs to be a verb or active. It needs to be short enough to repeat under stress. And it also needs to be emotionally activating. And we've actually created a guide for you that is going to help you work through all of this too. And we're going to drop the links that you can download, and that will help you not only have the information that we're sharing here, but it will help you walk through and create that mantra for you. But here are some of the examples that I'm going to share here, and they'll also be in the guide. I am becoming somebody who, fill in the blank. I trust myself to, fill in the blank. I allow myself to, fill in the blank. I choose blank over blank. So, like in the first one, I am becoming somebody who is on time. I trust myself to follow my intuition. I allow myself to love freely. I choose love over fear. Those are just some examples. You want to make it interactive. And I want to pause for just a few seconds because I do want you to sit with this. I think that something is coming to mind for you, and I want you to give yourself some time and space to sit with this, to write down some notes, and then we're going to move into step 4.
I love the journaling because I think that when we journal and write things down in front of us, you can kind of see patterns
Yes.
of the way that we think about ourselves, and listen to some of these limiting beliefs that people have maybe told us, or maybe we think about ourselves. I think there's a pattern that kind of forms. So when you're creating your mantra, you can take those patterns and that will help you come with a mantra, because you might see some patterns in the negativity that you're writing down. Okay. I love that idea of journaling. Step 4 is we want to practice our mantra before we need it. Okay. So a good thing that I like to do is I write mine down on like a 3x5 card every year, and I tuck it in my wallet.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I'm just sitting somewhere and waiting, like in a doctor's office, I will pull that out and read it, because I do like to memorize it. I think it's important that you memorize it, especially because it's maybe 1 or 2 sentences and it's probably pretty easy to memorize. And it's about yourself, it's for you. So when you create it, you can start to memorize and keep it somewhere close, like Heather had mentioned earlier, maybe like a rear view mirror in your car, or maybe somewhere that you are always looking inside your purse, maybe in your wallet. Maybe you have that little window where you put your license that you don't like to use. Stick it in there. You can open it up, and every time you see that, you can memorize it. So we're going to teach the neuroscience briefly. Here's a little neuroscience lesson. Repetition wires your beliefs, okay? And that is so true. What you repeat to yourselves becomes automatic. So we're going to encourage you to write your mantra, like we said, on a mirror or phone lock on your screen, your journal headers before meetings, before hard conversations, during your workouts, when you're triggered. You might even be able to do a little video on your phone of you telling your mantra, and then you can watch it whenever you want to. And you can say something powerful like, your mantra is not magic, it's muscle for you.
Yeah, and there's a lot of, I appreciate you sharing that. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no,
I appreciate you sharing that because it's important that you repeat it to yourself and because the more you say it, the more you'll believe it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it does help rewire your brain to believe yourself that you can do things differently.
Yep. And it really works. I feel like it does. It gives you that little powerful positivity instead of that negative self-talk that always wants to jump in when you're thinking of something. So when you look at a new opportunity, instead of saying, oh, I'm not good at new. I can't do new. I can't do new things. I'm really not good at it. Instead of that little voice, you can say, I am really getting so good at taking on new opportunities. They are positive and I learn so much from them, and you can kind of incorporate that into your mantra that yes, you are good at taking on new things. It may take you a while, but you're good at this, and you have to talk to yourself in that positive way and give yourself these little tidbits when you're facing something hard. I think a mantra helps so much.
Absolutely. And I think you and I both get asked this as coaches, how do I stop the negative tapes? How do I stop? Because it's humanity.
And they just roll.
They do roll.
They just roll.
But having something like this, it doesn't necessarily always erase. I think sometimes when you have ingrained fears, a lot of this starts in childhood or you've had a bad relationship, something's happened to you and you're going to hurt. You're going to have these times, but this can really help you stop it. And I know, like, I think about some of the things I've been hearing from clients, like, especially working with women in midlife, like, I'm too old, Heather. I'm too old to start. I'm too old. And I'm like, no, you're not too old. But if you tell yourself you're too old, you are going to believe that and you're going to let day after day after day.
Right.
Instead of saying, like, I am trying something new.
Right. And I like the fact that Heather just mentioned is it's easy for us to see the negative talk of someone else in our life. But I think that maybe you do this exercise with a friend just to identify in them what they might not even know as negative self-talk. So you can help them with that. And I think it's harder for us to see what our negative self-talk looks like.
Oh, yes.
But it might be easier for someone outside of us, like a good friend, to say, hey, you always say that you're, slow. I don't think you're slow. I think you get projects done really well and on time. And even if they are a little bit slow and you take your time, it shows in your final project or, something like that, where somebody else can help you identify what those negative self-talks might look like in your mind.
No, that's a great idea. And I think too, like the example you just gave, you might be telling yourself you're slow, but your friend might see you as you pour your heart into things.
Exactly.
And what a different reframe to be like, I'm slow or I'm not good enough or I'll never get it done versus you put a lot of heart and soul into what you do.
Right.
And that's another example that we were talking about is if you're struggling with this, or even if you're listening and you're like, I don't have any good things to say about myself. I don't have anything. I would encourage you to reach out to a safe person, somebody that you trust, a friend, family member maybe, and just ask them, like, when you think about me, what 3 characteristics come to mind? And you're probably going to be surprised at how other people see you more positively than you see yourself, especially if you're in a season right now where it feels really
Right.
heavy and really dark. And I think having that exercise with somebody else can be really powerful and enlightening.
Yeah. And maybe that's something we could also throw into our freebie, you
Mhm.
know? We could
Absolutely.
throw that in for you. Just some questions that you could uh, talk to someone, you know, that one of your friends or something. We'll throw in the questions that you could ask each other to
Mhm.
try to get to that real specific mantra that you want to use.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I mean, I actually do this every couple of years when I'm working on my business, my coaching, and I'll ask some prior clients, when you work with me, what do you like about working with me, or what do you? And sometimes they'll say things that I don't even necessarily think about myself. And when I hear it from 3 or 4 or 5 clients, I'm like, okay, this is something that resonates with them. Now I'm
Right.
going to use this to help, let other women know what I bring to the table or what they can
Right.
get. And I'm always amazed at what they see or what they get. And I think that it's important to, as women, to speak life and love into other women because we are so
Right.
hard on ourselves.
Yep.
And I think this is, the part in the episode too, where we want you to have that powerful letting go loudly moment when I just want to pause and ask you, what lie are you ready to let go of? What lie are you ready to say, you know what? I'm done with you keeping me playing small. I'm done with you keeping me down. I'm done with you allowing me to shrink and go small because of the fear that it has put on me. I want you to say to yourself, I am no longer available for that story. And I want you to repeat that to yourself. And I think that I'm going to pause here for a minute because I do want you to sit with this. What lie are you letting go of? And then I want you to tell yourself, I'm no longer available for that story. And here is where I think it's okay for us. I'd like to maybe share my mantra a little bit. And if you want to share yours,
Sure.
because we don't want you comparing. We want you to create something uniquely for you because that's what's going to break it. And so for me, I'll share briefly. And I share this respectfully, but I was raised in a home that was very performance based. So we were just always encouraged to have a smile, do our best. It just like it felt like I was on this performance treadmill and I didn't realize it till I was older. And because it worked for me, right? I worked hard in school. I got great grades. I got into a great college. I got married. We had kids. Like I worked hard and life fell into place for me. And then it didn't. And then my first marriage, my husband left. I found myself a single mom. And I'm like, wait a minute, I did all the things. Like, this shouldn't be happening. And then I began to believe this lie that I wasn't worthy, that I wasn't lovable. And I didn't see it in the moment, but I carried it with me. And I still have to take that lie captive because when certain situations come up, I will hear the enemy in my head. See, you're not worthy. You're not lovable. And my mantra is, I am worthy and loved, and my worth is not attached to other people's words and actions. And I have to repeat that to myself because that people pleasing part of Heather, that performance part of me, still comes up under times of stress and triggering. And so that is what I will say when I sense myself going into, they're just going to see you this way, or it doesn't matter. They don't care about you. You messed this up. You're not going to be good enough. I have to say I'm worthy and my worth is not attached to their words and actions. It comes from God and he sees me as valuable and worthy and loved. And I will share this too with you in all the work I've done in my certification and get in coaching women and coaching myself. There are going to be people in your life that choose to see you negatively for themselves, to make themselves feel better. And once you get comfortable sitting in the discomfort of someone not liking you or choosing to see you negatively, you will experience the freedom that you have always been searching for. And it is possible. I'm here to tell you personally, but also with clients I work with. And so that is the lie that weighs over me, and that may not be the lie that you struggle with, but getting down to that core fear, that core lie, is the only way to break it.
I agree. And that's a great mantra.
Yeah.
It really is. It's really good and positive. Not that we're judging
No.
mantras, but it works for Heather.
Yep.
It's perfect for her. Mine's a little bit different, and I have a different background than Heather. I have, through my careers in my life, have always worked in male-dominated settings. I've worked for manufacturing. I worked at Ford Motor Company. I worked where it was all pretty much male dominated. And I always have felt in those industries, in automotive, just a little inferior, just because maybe it was automotive. I mean, what girl likes trucks and what girl likes automotive things? And why would you be in that industry? And I never really felt, I can't say inferior, but just like I wasn't worthy of my job because I definitely brought things to that. But my mantra was always like, ooh, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know. My self-talk was always like a little bit unsure of myself. So as I aged and I started researching mantras and how to get a really good sentence for myself, which it does change over time. I add things to my mantra a lot because, we can and we should in different situations. Maybe you have a couple but mine is I am clever, I am creative, and I am able to do anything I put my mind to. And that has helped me a lot through the years, just thinking in a positive way that, what, I do bring different things to the table. Maybe I'm not, streamlined in one way or the other, but I am clever. I am creative. I can come up with different ideas and I'm able to do whatever I put my mind to. I can finish it. So that's my mantra. And I hope that you guys can use our 4 step system to create your own. And we will give you the freebies that you need to be able to walk yourself through this creating your mantra. I think they're great to have for yourself. You can teach it to your kids, you can teach it to anyone, and they really help through life to get you through some tough times.
Absolutely. And I love what you shared. And I think that ours are very different, but why they work for us is because we've identified what our negative self-talk,
Exactly.
what our lie is, and our mantra hits it, it breaks it. And that's what we want you to do is to get real. And there's no shame or blame.
Yeah, this is for you.
Whatever you have struggled with or whatever you find yourself, fearing when you have to make a decision, whatever keeps you down, that's what you need to let go loudly of.
Yep. I love that. If this episode stirred something in you, that's not coincidence. That's awareness. You don't need a new personality. You don't need a new year. You don't need permission. You need new language. So here's your homework. Write down your lie. Again, rewrite your truth. Repeat it until it feels natural. Repeat it until it feels boring and repeat it until it feels true. This is letting go loudly. And we don't whisper new stories here. We declare them.
And there you have it. Another episode of Letting Go Loudly is in the books. I hope you're walking away feeling heard, encouraged, and more empowered to live out your version of letting go loudly. Remember that life can be hard and beautiful at the same time. Choose what you're ready to release and make room for the good that's already here. If this episode resonated with you, we'd love it if you'd subscribe, like, share with a friend, and leave a review. It really does help us grow. Oh, and you can find us on Instagram too at Letting Go Loudly, where you can connect with other women who are choosing to let go loudly and share how you are navigating life. Friends, we've dropped our link here for the freebie. We want you to download it. It'll help you create that mantra, but most importantly, break the lie because midlife is not a crisis. It's a catalyst for change, and we are here to help you let go loudly. Until next time, bye.
Bye.